Okay. Ready to dive into some persuasive writing?
I am.
We're going deep with a podcast script for English language learners.
Sounds interesting.
But, even if you're already a pretty good writer, there's always something new to learn.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think this one's got some hidden gems for all of us.
Well, what I find interesting is how this script, it really just lays out how to persuade anybody, no matter what their, language level is.
Yeah.
We're talking about influence.
Right.
Like the structure, the clarity, the emotional connection.
Yeah.
It works when you're writing a business proposal or even just trying to get your friend to try a new restaurant.
Exactly. It's not just for politicians or marketers or whatever.
No, that's right.
Persuasive writing. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Like that last email you wrote where you really needed to get your point across.
Oh, yeah.
Or a cover letter for a job.
Right.
You think a little persuasive magic could have helped?
Oh, I'm sure it could have.
I think so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know what? The source material uses this great example.
Okay.
Trying to convince your boss to implement flexible working hours.
No.
It's not just writing some sentences.
Right.
You have to make an argument. Highlight the benefits for the company and for the employees too.
Right. You got to show them how it's a win-win.
Exactly. A win-win. Hard to resist.
Okay, I'm sold. Persuasion is power. It is.
But how do we actually do it?
Right.
Well, this source material breaks down a persuasive piece into three parts. The introduction, the body paragraphs, and the conclusion.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds pretty basic.
Yeah.
But there's a reason this structure has worked forever.
I know, right? It's not just some random formula.
Right.
This goes all the way back to classical rhetoric.
Oh.
The art of persuasion, it's been around for centuries.
Wow.
What's fascinating is that it still applies today.
So cool.
You follow this structure, and it's like a roadmap for your reader.
It guides them through your argument in a clear and logical way.
I love that. Okay, so guiding the reader. So this source material,
Yeah.
it gives some pretty good advice about writing a really strong introduction.
Okay.
It all starts with a hook.
Okay, yeah.
Something to grab your reader's attention, make them want to keep reading.
Got it.
They give this example of starting with a statistic about remote work and how it's increased productivity.
Oh, I like that.
It's all about getting their attention right away.
For sure. Then you follow up with a thesis statement.
Okay.
Basically what's your main point?
Right.
You can say something like, implementing flexible work hours will boost employee morale and increase productivity.
Boom. Okay, you got me. I'm hooked.
Perfect.
But what about the body paragraphs?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you really get into it.
This is where the Peel method comes in.
Peel. Okay, tell me more.
Each paragraph focuses on one single point.
Okay.
And it provides evidence, like building a case.
Brick by brick.
Exactly.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say flexible work hours, right?
Yeah.
One paragraph could be about how it impacts productivity.
Okay.
You start with a point. Flexible work arrangements lead to increased productivity.
Got it.
Then you give evidence, like studies, companies that have tried it, show it actually works,
So you're not just saying it, you're proving it.
right? Then goes the explanation.
Okay.
You say, maybe employees can work during their peak hours,
Makes sense.
leading to better focus,
Right. So it's not just the what, but the why.
Exactly.
Okay. And what about the L and Peel?
The L is for link.
Okay.
You wrap up the paragraph
Yeah.
and link it back to your thesis, your argument for flexible work.
Okay. So you're saying
Yeah.
by letting employees work when and where they're most productive,
Yes.
it's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly.
This Peel method is genius.
It is pretty
A
clever.
recipe for a killer paragraph.
I know, right?
Point, evidence, explanation, link.
You got it.
Okay, but before we get too carried away,
Yeah.
what about the conclusion? How do we wrap this whole thing up?
Right. The conclusion is your grand finale.
Okay.
It's your last chance to leave an impression.
Right.
The source material says, summarize your key arguments.
Okay.
Restate your thesis clearly.
Got it. So we're bringing it all back to that main argument.
Exactly. And you can get creative here.
Okay.
The source material suggests ending with a call to action.
Oh, telling them what to do next?
Yeah, like in our flexible work hours example, you could suggest a trial period
Oh, that's good.
or tell them to learn more on a website or something.
So it's more than just reading. It's okay, what's next?
Exactly. Give them something to do.
Okay, so we covered the basic structure,
Yeah.
but I have a feeling there's a lot more to this.
Oh, there is.
What's next on our deep dive agenda?
Okay, now let's talk about the glue that holds a persuasive argument together.
Oh, intrigue me.
Connectors and transition phrases.
Okay.
Little words and phrases that make a huge difference.
Connectors, huh?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like my writing is kind of choppy.
Okay.
Like, I have all these good ideas, but they're not really flowing together.
Yeah, that's where connectors come in.
Okay.
They're like bridges between your ideas, transitions that guide your reader from one point to the next.
Smooth it all out.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting? These tiny little words, they can have a huge impact.
Really?
Oh, yeah. On how clear and persuasive your writing is.
So it's not just what you say,
Right.
but how you connect it all together.
You got it.
The source material actually breaks these connectors down into like different categories.
Yeah.
Adding information, contrasting ideas, cause and effect.
Right. It's like a whole toolbox.
It is, right.
For writing.
For persuasive writing.
Yeah. Just like any tool, you got to know how to use them the right way.
Right. Okay. So let's start with adding information.
Okay. So words like furthermore, in addition, moreover.
Okay.
Those are great when you want to build on a previous point. You're giving more support for your argument.
Okay.
Like, let's say you're writing about exercise.
Okay.
You could say, regular exercise improves cardiovascular health. Moreover, it strengthens muscles and bones.
Okay. So you're like building up a case.
Exactly. Each point adds to the one before it.
Got it. What about contrasting ideas?
Oh, yeah. Those can be tough.
They are.
But connectors, like however, on the other hand, nevertheless,
Okay.
those can help you be more balanced,
Right.
more nuanced.
So it's not just one-sided.
Right. Like, let's say you're arguing that technology makes life easier.
Yeah. Okay.
You could say, however, it's important to be mindful of technology addiction and privacy concerns.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. You're acknowledging the other side.
Yeah.
It makes your argument stronger.
Because you're not ignoring the potential problems.
Exactly. You're addressing them head on.
Okay. What about cause and effect?
Oh, that's a good one.
I struggle with that sometimes.
Well, connectors, like as a result, therefore, consequently,
Okay.
those can really help.
Okay.
Showing that one thing leads to another.
Right.
For example, climate change. You could say greenhouse gas emissions have increased dramatically. As a result, global temperatures are rising.
Wow. You just made that so clear.
See, connectors are powerful.
They are. I'm starting to see how they can really
Yeah.
make a difference in writing.
For sure.
Okay. Let's move on to something else important
Okay.
that the source material talks about. Tone and formality.
Oh, this is where it gets interesting.
Okay. Tell me more.
It's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
Tone and formality can completely change how your message is received.
I get that.
Like, you wouldn't talk to your friend the same way
Right.
as you would to your boss.
Definitely not.
Right, you'd get fired.
Exactly. It's all about knowing your audience
Yeah.
and the context.
The source material talks about two main types of tone,
Okay.
professional and passionate.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What's the difference?
Professional is more objective, straightforward,
Got it.
focuses on facts and logic.
Okay.
Passionate, well, it's more emotional. You let your energy show.
So when would you use one over the other?
It depends.
Okay.
What are you trying to do? Who are you talking to?
Right. Right.
If you're giving a presentation at a conference, you probably want to be professional.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you're writing a blog post about something you're passionate about,
Right.
let that passion shine through.
So match your tone to the situation.
Exactly.
Now, what about formality?
Okay, so the source material talks about formal and semi-formal writing.
Okay. I'm not sure I know the difference.
Formal is like super professional.
Right.
Academic papers, official documents, that kind of thing.
Got it.
More complex sentences, bigger words, no contractions.
Okay.
Semi-formal is more relaxed, like an email or a blog post.
More conversational?
Exactly.
So it's like formal is wearing a suit
Yeah.
and semi-formal is business casual.
Perfect analogy.
Okay, good.
You got it.
So again, it's all about knowing your audience and the situation.
Right, just for the occasion.
I'm realizing that persuasive writing is more than just
Yeah,
putting some sentences together.
it is. There's a lot to it.
It is, but
Yeah.
even with all this knowledge,
Right.
I still make mistakes sometimes.
We all do.
Are there any common ones we should be aware of?
Definitely. The source material has a whole list.
Okay, like a cheat sheet?
Yeah. Common mistakes and how to fix them.
Okay, give me the top one.
Overloaded sentences.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to cram too much into one sentence.
I do that all the time.
It happens.
It gets all confusing.
It does.
It's like a jumbled mess.
The solution. Break it down.
Oh, okay. Simpler.
Shorter sentences.
Right. Keep it clear.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
What else? Using big words when you don't need to.
Oh, trying to sound smart.
Yeah. But it usually backfires.
Right.
Just use clear, simple language.
So people actually understand what you're saying.
Exactly. Don't overcomplicate it.
Okay, what's next?
Grammar and punctuation.
Ugh, I hate grammar.
It can be tricky.
But it's important.
It is. Nothing looks more unprofessional.
Yeah, like you didn't even try.
Exactly. But grammar's hard.
That's why you proofread.
Right.
And use tools like Grammarly.
Oh, yeah. Technology to the rescue.
Right. It's a lifesaver.
Okay, what's the last mistake on the list?
This one's important.
Okay.
Not backing up your claims.
Oh, yeah.
You can say whatever you want.
Right.
But if you don't have evidence...
Right. It means nothing.
Exactly. It's just empty words.
So you got to prove it.
Use statistics, studies, examples.
Real life stuff.
Exactly. The stronger your evidence, the stronger your argument.
Okay, wow. This has been like a crash course.
I know, right?
In persuasive writing.
It has.
I feel like I learned a lot.
Good.
But I know there's always more to learn.
Oh, absolutely. The key is to keep practicing.
Exactly. The more you write, the better you'll get.
I'm feeling inspired.
That's great.
Before we wrap up, though,
Yeah.
I want to ask you something.
Okay.
If you could write the most persuasive message in the world, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And who would you send it to?
That's tough. You know, if I could write the most persuasive message,
Yeah.
it would be about empathy and understanding,
Okay.
between people from different backgrounds and cultures. I'd send it to everyone,
Wow.
everywhere.
That's beautiful.
I think it could help bridge divides,
Yeah.
make the world a little more peaceful.
A little more compassionate.
Exactly.
It reminds us that persuasive writing,
Yeah.
it's not just about getting what we want.
No, it's not.
It's about making a difference
It can be.
in the world.
It can.
Okay, so much to think about.
I know.
We're almost out of time for today.
Okay.
It's amazing how persuasive writing can be used for like all sorts of things.
It really is.
Selling products, promoting social change.
Right.
It's a powerful tool.
Powerful. And like any tool,
Yeah,
it can be used for good or bad.
that's true.
We have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, the ethical side of it.
Exactly. Just because we can persuade someone
Right.
doesn't mean we should.
It's about using that power responsibly.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important
Yeah.
to understand your audience and your purpose. Like, what are you actually trying to do?
Right, what's the goal?
Are you informing, educating, inspiring, or just entertaining?
So many possibilities.
Once you know your purpose,
Yeah.
you can figure out the best way to achieve it.
I'm realizing persuasive writing is more than just tricks and techniques.
It is.
It's about connecting with your audience.
Yeah.
Understanding them.
Understanding their needs, what motivates them.
Yeah, and presenting your ideas in a way that like speaks to them.
Exactly. You want your writing to resonate with them.
It's about building trust.
Right. Building a connection.
And that takes time.
It does. It's not something that happens overnight.
Well, this deep dive has given me a lot to think about.
Good. I'm glad.
I'm excited to try out some of these things in my own writing.
You should. And remember, the best way to get better
Yeah.
is to practice.
Practice, practice, practice.
Write every day, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Okay.
Try different techniques, play around with connectors.
Experiment.
Exactly. See what works for you.
Okay. Any last words of wisdom?
Yes. Find your voice.
Okay.
Be authentic. Write with passion.
Because
The most persuasive writing
Yeah.
comes from the heart.
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive
It does.
into persuasive writing.
Time flies.
I hope everyone listening
Me too.
learned a lot
It was fun.
and had some fun along the way.
Yes.
Remember, the power of persuasion is
Yeah.
in your hands.
Use it wisely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You guys wanted to learn all about negotiation and persuasion, so that's what we're doing today. But get this, our source material. It's a script for teaching English as a second language.
Yeah, pretty unexpected, right?
I know, but honestly, I'm thinking this different angle could make things really interesting. Maybe even give us a fresh take on like classic techniques and stuff.
Totally. And you know what else is cool about this script? They make a clear distinction between negotiation and persuasion right off the bat, which I think a lot of people kind of use interchangeably.
Oh, for sure. Like I always thought they were basically the same thing.
Well, here they're saying negotiation is all about like, finding an agreement. Whereas persuasion, that's more about influencing someone to think or do something specific.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So it's less about compromise and more about getting them to come around to your side.
Exactly. It's like, imagine you're trying to buy a car, right? Negotiation's the back and forth on price, but persuasion is convincing the seller that your offer is the best one, even if it's not the highest.
Okay, so knowing which one you're dealing with is key. Gotcha. Well, let's get into the nitty-gritty. What kind of strategies does this script recommend?
One big one is preparation, like really doing your homework. They even talk about researching the other person's past negotiations or looking for weaknesses in their usual arguments.
So it's like knowing your opponent in a chess match.
Exactly. But even if you don't know much about the person, you can still prepare. This script suggests, like, figuring out their needs and goals. Like, what are they really trying to achieve?
That's smart, because once you know what they want, you can figure out how to give it to them in a way that also works for you, right?
Exactly. It's about finding that win-win.
Love it. Okay, this script also mentioned something called anchoring. What's that all about?
Ah, yeah. Anchoring. That's a classic. It's basically setting a high starting point in the negotiation. Like, you ask for more than you actually expect to get.
Ooh, sneaky. But why?
It's all about setting the frame, right? Makes any counteroffers seem more reasonable by comparison.
So, like, if I'm selling something, I start with a price that's a bit high, knowing it'll probably come down a little.
Exactly. And they even gave this example about a salary negotiation. You could say something like, based on my research, I was thinking more along the lines of $80,000.
Bold. But what if they just, like, laugh you out of the room?
Well, that's why you got to find that sweet spot. Be ambitious but believable. Have a solid reason for that initial number you throw out.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't want to seem delusional. Okay, what else? Any other cool tactics in this script?
You know what they emphasize that I find interesting? The power of silence.
Silence.
Yeah.
Like, after you make an offer, just be quiet. Let the other person respond first.
Yes, that can make people uncomfortable. And then maybe they blurt out something.
That's the idea. This script connects it to something called loss aversion. People hate losing more than they like winning, you know? So silence kind of creates that potential for loss.
Oh, I get it. So if I don't say anything, they're worried I'm going to walk away.
Exactly. Subtle but effective.
Wow, I like it. This script even gives like an actual dialogue example.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
It's about a job interview, and you say, based on my research, I believe a salary of $70,000 is fair for this role. And they're like, that's higher than we were thinking. And then you just pause.
Ooh, I love it. That silence speaks volumes.
Right. So much better than immediately lowering your ask. Okay, so we've got preparation, anchoring, and the silent treatment. What else did this script have to say about negotiation?
Oh, they also talk about knowing when to walk away.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is, but sometimes it's the best move.
Like if they're just not budging and you're not getting what you need.
Exactly. Got to know your worth, right?
For sure. Okay, so we've covered some solid negotiation tactics, but what about persuasion?
Ah, yes. Persuasion. This script had some fun stuff on that, too.
I'm ready. Hit me with your best persuasive tips.
Well, one they highlight is the rule of reciprocity. You ever notice how, like, if someone does something nice, you kind of feel obligated to do something nice back?
Oh, totally. Like if a friend helps me move, I'm definitely buying them dinner.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's reciprocity. And it can be really powerful for persuasion. The script suggests, like, doing a small favor before making your request.
So like butter them up a bit first.
In a way, yeah. Could be something small, like sharing some helpful info or just being supportive.
Okay, so it's like creating a sense of, I owe you one.
Yeah, exactly. People naturally want to return favors.
Makes sense. What else?
Another technique they talk about is appealing to emotions.
Ooh, interesting. Because logic doesn't always win the day, right?
Nope. Humans are emotional creatures.
Yeah.
And this script really emphasized storytelling as a way to connect on that level.
Oh, I love that. A good story can really change people's minds.
For sure. But it's going to be authentic. You know, the script warns against, like, being manipulative.
Right, don't want to guilt trip anyone.
Exactly. It's about sharing genuine stories that resonate with people.
So, like, instead of just stating facts, weave them into a compelling narrative.
Exactly. It's way more impactful. They even gave an example about creating urgency.
Ooh, like those limited time offer things.
Yeah, like this discount ends Friday, so act fast.
Oh, I fall for those all the time.
It's effective, creates that fear of missing out.
Totally. Speaking of effective, what about social proof? This script mentioned that too, right?
They did. Social proof is all about, like, showing that other people are already doing what you want them to do.
Oh, right, like online reviews. If something has tons of 5-star reviews, I'm way more likely to buy it.
Exactly. We look to others to guide our decisions, especially when we're unsure.
So how can we use that for persuasion?
Well, the script suggests showcasing testimonials, positive reviews, anything that shows others have benefited.
It's like saying, hey, everyone else loves this. You will too.
Exactly. It taps into that desire to fit in.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got some powerful persuasive techniques here, but I'm guessing it's not all about the tricks.
Definitely not. The script also emphasizes staying calm and confident.
Right, because if you seem nervous or unsure, people pick up on that.
Absolutely. It's about believing in what you're saying.
I love that. So much of this comes down to just being genuine.
Yeah, and a big part of that is active listening.
So it's not just about talking AT people, it's about understanding them.
Right. The script talks about paraphrasing to confirm you understand, asking clarifying questions.
Shows you're actually engaged, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly. And one final point they made, which I think is important, following up afterwards.
Even if you don't reach an agreement right away.
Yep. Just a quick email summarizing, thanking them for their time.
Keeps the door open. I like it. This has been such a fascinating deep dive.
It really has. Who knew an English language learning script could be so insightful?
Seriously, we've covered so much.
Lots of practical stuff in there.
And our listener wanted to become a master negotiator, so I think we're giving them the tip.
For sure. The script had a great point about practice, too.
Right. It's one thing to know the techniques, but got to actually use them.
Yeah. They even suggest role-playing with a friend.
Get some reps in.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So for our listener who's eager to put all this into action, what's the biggest takeaway?
I'd say it's to approach negotiation and persuasion strategically. It's not about being slick or manipulative. It's about understanding the psychology.
And practicing.
Exactly. So to our listener, now that you have these tools, think about it. What situation are you going to use them in first? How are you going to tailor them to your goals?
Such a good question. We want to hear all about it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning and keep leveling up.
Yeah, and they had a good point at the end, too, about practice.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Practice is key.
Right. It's one thing to know about these techniques, but you got to actually use them.
Totally. It's like anything else,
Yeah.
The more you do it, the better you get.
Exactly. And this script even suggests role playing.
Oh, that's a good idea. Like practice with a friend or something.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get comfortable with the techniques before you use them in a real situation.
Smart. Okay, so for our listener who's, ready to become a negotiation superstar, what's the most important thing they should remember from all this?
That's a good question. I think the key takeaway is that negotiation and persuasion, they're skills.
Yeah, not just some magic tricks.
Right. It's not about manipulating people. It's about understanding the psychology behind it all.
And preparation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Preparation is huge.
Knowing your stuff, knowing the other person, knowing what you want.
Exactly. And then, of course, practice.
Can't forget the practice. All right, so to our awesome listener out there, you wanted to know all about negotiation and persuasion. And I think we delivered.
I hope so. We covered a lot of ground today.
We did. And honestly, I learned a ton myself.
Me too. Always good to refresh those skills, right?
Absolutely. So, listener, now that you have all these tools in your toolbox, what are you going to do with them?
Yeah. What situation are you going to try them out in first? How are you going to make them work for you?
Ooh, that's a challenge. Let us know how it goes, okay? Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
So you want to get better at speaking English, huh? Well, that's awesome. We're doing a deep dive into this script that's packed with tips.
Okay.
It says it's for beginners.
Mm-hmm.
But I think anyone could find something useful in here.
Yeah. I can.
No matter how long you've been speaking English. In fact, it reminds me of this one time, well, let's just say I learned the hard way, that good communication can really make or break a situation.
It's true. Clear communication is so important. I think one of the things that's really interesting about this script is how it starts by addressing the fear factor.
Right.
That feeling of, what if I mess up?
Oh, totally.
Or what if I don't have the right words? The script really acknowledges those anxieties.
Yeah.
And reframes them as just part of the process.
Totally.
It's not like a sign that you're not cut out for this.
Yeah.
It's just part of the deal.
It's so true. Instead of just jumping into grammar rules, it really encourages you to just start with simple phrases that you can use every day. Things like, how are you? Or can you help me with this?
Yes, exactly.
That seems almost too easy.
I know. It might seem that way.
Yeah.
But think about it. Like, how do we get good at anything?
Right.
We practice, we repeat, we kind of build those neural pathways. By practicing these like simple phrases, you're training your brain to think and react in English more automatically.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's almost like you're laying the foundation for a house.
Yeah.
You need a solid base before you can build those like, fancy upper floors.
Yeah. Okay. I'm starting to see how those basic phrases aren't so basic after all. Now, this next tip is something I actually do myself.
Oh, really?
Imitating native speakers.
Oh, interesting.
The script suggests like watching movies, listening to podcasts, anything that you enjoy, basically.
Right.
And trying to mimic their pronunciation, the tone, even the rhythm. It's like learning by osmosis, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's all about immersion.
Yeah.
By surrounding yourself with the sounds of like spoken English, you're picking up on those subtle nuances that textbook learning sometimes misses.
Oh, totally.
You start to notice, how native speakers connect words, where they emphasize certain syllables, how their intonation changes depending on the situation. And don't worry about like sounding exactly like someone else. It's more about like absorbing those patterns and incorporating them into your own, unique way of speaking.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of sounding more natural, the script also talks about using idioms.
Okay.
Have you found that mastering those little expressions makes a big difference in how fluent someone sounds?
Oh, absolutely. Idioms are those like colorful figurative expressions that just add a touch of like personality and cultural understanding to your language. Think of phrases like break the ice, piece of cake, or hit the nail on the head. They don't always translate literally.
Right, exactly.
But they convey a very specific meaning within a cultural context.
They do. And they're not just about sounding more fluent.
Right.
They also show that you understand the nuances of the language and the culture.
Right, exactly.
If you can just casually drop an idiom into conversation, it shows you're not just speaking the language, but you're engaging with it on a deeper level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it signals that you're going beyond the textbook.
Right.
Embracing the richness of the language. Now, another tip the script highlights is the importance of pronunciation.
Of course.
It might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people neglect this aspect.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in grammar and vocabulary.
I know.
But like clear pronunciation is crucial if you want people to understand you. I mean, we've all had those moments where we've like mumbled or mispronounced something and it just leads to confusion or awkwardness.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and this script even suggests using some online tools like Forvo or Youglish to practice and fine-tune your pronunciation. These tools let you hear how native speakers pronounce different words and phrases.
Oh, good.
You can even record yourself to compare and contrast.
Oh, wow. That's great.
It's like having a personal pronunciation coach.
That's awesome. Okay, one more tip before we move on, and it's a classic.
You okay?
Tongue twisters.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who hasn't stumbled over "she sells seashells by the seashore" at least once?
Right, at least once.
Yeah.
Everyone's tried that.
But why do you think the script emphasizes these seemingly silly exercises?
Well, beyond being a fun challenge, tongue twisters are actually incredibly effective for training your mouth muscles
Interesting.
to produce specific sounds accurately.
Yeah.
By repeating these kind of tricky phrases, you're working on your articulation, which is crucial for clear and understandable speech. Think about it. When you speak clearly, your audience can focus on like what you're saying, your message, instead of straining to decipher your words. It's a subtle but powerful way to just enhance your overall communication skills.
That's a good point. It's not just about sounding fancy. It's about making sure that your message comes across loud and clear.
Right, exactly.
All right, I think we've covered a good chunk of the tips focused on pronunciation and sounding more natural.
Yeah.
What do you think? Should we move on to some of the other areas the script covers?
Absolutely. Let's dive deeper into those other essential aspects of speaking English with confidence.
Just do it.
One thing that really struck me about this script is how it like emphasizes the importance of building your vocabulary.
Yeah.
It suggests aiming to learn like 3 to 5 new words each day.
Okay.
And then actually like using them in sentences.
Right.
What do you think about that approach?
It sounds simple enough, but I can definitely see how it would be really effective. Instead of just memorizing a list of words, you're actually like integrating them into your spoken English.
Yeah.
It's like you're taking those words out for a spin, getting comfortable with them.
Totally. And the script even provides a simple example like, I learned the word excited.
Okay.
I feel excited to practice speaking today.
Right.
It might seem basic, but that act of using the word in a sentence helps solidify it in your memory.
Right.
It's like taking a new tool out of the toolbox and learning how to use it.
I like that. And speaking of tools,
Yeah.
the script also mentions flashcards as a classic but effective method for vocabulary expansion. You write the word on one side, the definition or an example sentence on the other.
Oh, yeah. Classic flashcard.
It's a technique that's been around forever, but it just seems to stand the test of time. Why do you think that is?
Well, flashcards tap into some powerful learning principles,
Okay.
like spaced repetition and active recall. You're essentially forcing your brain to retrieve the information from memory, which strengthens those neural connections.
Okay.
And by spacing out your review sessions, you're ensuring that the information gets transferred to your long-term memory.
It's like giving your brain a little workout.
It is. It is.
Right. The more you challenge yourself to recall those words and definitions, the stronger those memories become.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, beyond individual words, this script also talks about learning common phrases and idioms.
Right, right.
What's the advantage of focusing on phrases rather than just memorizing isolated words?
It's about shifting from a word-based approach to a more phrase-based approach.
Yeah.
When you master those common phrases, you're essentially equipping yourself with pre-packaged units of meaning that can be readily deployed in various situations.
Yeah.
It just makes your speech more fluent and natural.
Right.
Because you're not having to mentally translate each individual word in real time.
It's like learning to dance. You start with basic steps, and then eventually you're able to string those steps together into more complex sequences and movements.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Speaking of fluency, one tip that caught my eye is the idea of thinking in English.
Oh, yeah.
The script suggests that instead of translating from your native language, you should try to form your thoughts directly in English.
Right?
Do you think that's really possible, especially for someone who's just starting out?
It's definitely a process.
Yeah.
It might not happen overnight,
Right.
but with consistent practice and immersion, it becomes increasingly natural. You'll find yourself thinking in English more and more, especially in situations where you're using the language frequently.
Right.
It's like you're training your brain to kind of... It is.
Now, of course, all the vocabulary and mental practice in the world won't do much good if you're not actually speaking out loud. And that's where the script's emphasis on practice really comes in.
Yes.
It suggests finding a language partner or tutor to have regular conversations with. What are your thoughts on the importance of finding a speaking buddy?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. I mean, you can learn all the grammar rules and vocabulary in the world, but speaking is a skill that requires active practice. Think of it like learning to play a musical instrument.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't just read about music theory. You'd actually pick up the instrument and play it. Having a dedicated partner or tutor provides you with a safe and supportive environment to experiment, make mistakes, and refine your spoken English. It's like having a training partner at the gym.
Oh, yeah.
They push you to improve and help you stay motivated.
And speaking of staying motivated, the script also recommends joining English clubs or groups, either online or in person.
Yeah, great idea.
Why do you think that social aspect is so important for language learning?
Well, it's about more than just practicing your spoken English.
Yeah.
It's about immersing yourself in a community of like-minded individuals who share your goals. It fosters a sense of belonging and motivation, and it makes the learning journey more enjoyable. Think of it as expanding your social circle while also expanding your linguistic skills.
It's like killing two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
You're practicing your English and making new connections at the same time.
Absolutely.
All right, I think we've covered a good chunk of the proactive steps you can take to improve your speaking skills.
Yeah, I think so too.
But this script also dives into something that I think a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
Common mistakes and how to fix them. What do you think? Should we take a look at some of those pitfalls and how to avoid them?
Absolutely. Let's shed some light on those common stumbling blocks.
Okay.
And empower you to navigate them with confidence. We've talked about all these great tips and techniques.
Right.
But I think we could all agree that one of the biggest hurdles to speaking any language, especially a new one, is the fear of messing up.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you ever felt that way, like you're so worried about making a mistake that you just freeze up?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
All the time. It's like my brain just shuts down.
It's a completely natural human response.
Yeah.
We don't want to sound foolish or be judged.
Right.
So we hesitate, we overthink.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just avoid speaking altogether.
Right.
But here's the thing. This script really emphasizes mistakes are inevitable.
Yeah.
They're not a sign of failure.
Right.
They're actually proof that you're learning and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone.
So true. It's like that saying, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
But how does this script suggest we deal with that fear, practically speaking?
Well, it encourages you to reframe your perspective.
Okay.
Instead of seeing mistakes as something to be ashamed of, try to view them as valuable feedback.
Okay, yeah.
Each time you make a mistake, you're learning something new about the language. You're identifying areas where you need more practice, and you're becoming more aware of those subtle nuances that make a difference.
So it's not about striving for perfection, but about embracing the learning process, bumps and all.
Exactly.
Another common mistake the script highlights is this tendency to overcomplicate sentences. I know I've been guilty of this myself, especially when I'm trying to impress someone or sound more academic. Why do you think we do that, and how can we avoid falling to that trap?
I think it stems from this misconception that complexity equals intelligence or fluency.
Right.
We might feel like we need to use big words and intricate grammar to be taken seriously,
Yeah.
but in reality, simplicity is often the key to clear and effective communication.
That's so true.
Think about some of the most powerful speeches or like memorable quotes.
Right.
They're often quite simple and straightforward in their language.
It's like that quote, I think it's Mark Twain who said it, I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one instead.
Exactly, yeah.
It actually takes more effort to distill your thoughts down to their essence.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how does the script suggest we simplify our sentences without sounding, well, too simple?
Well, it encourages you to focus on conveying your message in the most direct and understandable way possible.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to use shorter sentences,
Right.
everyday vocabulary, and a conversational tone. Think about how you would explain something to a friend or family member. You wouldn't use overly formal language or complicated structures.
Right. It's about being authentic and relatable.
Exactly.
Speaking of relatable, this script also dives into a common challenge that many English learners face: limited vocabulary. We've already talked about flashcards and learning new words every day, but what are some other strategies the script suggests for expanding our word bank?
It encourages you to become an active reader.
Okay.
Whether it's books, magazines, online articles, or even social media posts. The more you expose yourself to written English, the more new words and phrases you'll encounter.
Yeah.
And don't just passively read. Actively engage with the text. Underline unfamiliar words. Look up their definitions, and try to use them in your own writing or conversations. It's like turning your reading material into a personalized vocabulary builder.
Like a treasure hunt for new words.
Yeah.
Now, beyond reading, this script also emphasizes the importance of actively listening to English being spoken, whether it's podcasts like this, or movies, TV shows, or even conversations with native speakers. Just paying attention to how others use language can be incredibly insightful. Why do you think listening is such a crucial part of language learning?
Well, it's about more than just understanding the words being spoken.
Okay, yeah.
It's about absorbing the rhythm, the intonation,
Right.
the subtle ways that native speakers connect words and phrases. It's like training your ear to recognize the music of the language. And the more you listen, the more natural those patterns will start to sound, and the easier it will be to incorporate them into your own speaking.
So it's like immersing yourself in the soundscape of the language, even when you're not actively speaking.
Exactly, yeah.
Speaking of active speaking, this script doesn't just leave you with tips and techniques. It actually provides a practice exercise to help you put it all together. Can you walk us through what that exercise entails?
Absolutely. It's a 3-step exercise designed to help you practice some fundamental conversation skills.
Okay.
The first step is introducing yourself.
Right.
You know, your name, where you're from, maybe a hobby or two.
Okay.
It's a simple way to warm up your speaking muscles and get comfortable talking about yourself.
It's like that classic icebreaker activity you do at the beginning of like a workshop or a meeting.
Exactly.
It helps you ease into the flow of conversation.
Exactly.
So what's step 2?
Step 2 is describing your day.
Okay.
You know, what you did, what you ate, any interesting events that happened. It's a great way to practice using different tenses,
Right.
vocabulary related to daily activities, and even like Descriptive language. You can make it as simple or as detailed as you like, depending on your comfort level.
Yeah. It's like turning your everyday life into a conversation topic. And finally, the third step.
The third step is all about practicing asking and answering questions.
Okay.
You could use simple questions like, what's your favorite color?
Right.
Or what do you like to do in your free time? Or you can get more creative and ask open-ended questions that spark more in-depth conversations. The key is to practice formulating questions clearly
Yeah.
and responding in a way that keeps the conversation flowing.
It's like a mini conversation simulator. And the best part is you can adapt this exercise to fit your own interests and goals. If you're interested in travel, you can practice talking about your dream vacation. If you're learning English for business, you could practice, asking work-related questions. The possibilities are really endless.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your learning journey and making it relevant to your own life. And don't forget, this exercise is just a starting point. You can repeat it as many times as you like, focusing on different areas each time. And remember, the more you practice, the more confident and fluent you'll become.
So there you have it, a deep dive into this script packed with tips, techniques, and even a practice exercise to help you on your journey to speaking English with confidence. We've covered a lot of ground today, but if we had to distill it down to a few key takeaways, what would you say are the most important things to remember?
I would say, embrace those mistakes, keep things simple, expand your vocabulary through reading and listening,
Yes.
find a speaking buddy, and most importantly, practice, practice, practice. Remember, language learning is a journey, not a destination.
Love that.
And every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal.
I love that. And speaking of taking steps, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question to think about. Think about all the reasons you're learning English. Maybe you want to connect with people from different cultures. Maybe you want to advance your career. Or maybe you just want to experience the world in a new way. How do you think improving your English speaking skills will help you achieve those bigger dreams and aspirations? That's something I want you to ponder as you continue on your language learning journey. Until next time, happy speaking!